All right, so let's talk about what's happening with new construction then, right? Because there's a lot of news coming about new construction. I did the numbers yesterday, Ian.
Yeah.
32% of the active inventory on the market is new construction in our 5 counties, is new construction. 28% of what's closing is new construction. And when I say new construction, I do 2022 and newer. I add 2022 and newer, because some of those, if you actually look at them, are still vacant properties that haven't been sold, or they're brand new properties that maybe somebody bought and didn't move into.
Yeah.
Okay. So 28% of what's closing right now is that. So like less than a third is actual new construction. But, and this ties into interest rates. So let me pull this back up. So in Austin, we actually have a lot of building going on. The thing is, last month we had the builder confidence score go up. And the builder confidence score went up for a couple of reasons. Number one, builders are finding it easier to sell homes. Interesting. It went from 50 to 55. And so the builder confidence score is basically just a survey from all of the builders out there. And they go, yep, we're feeling better about the market. I remember in January, I went to an event with Highland Homes and they were high and mighty and, oh, this year is going to be amazing. Hasn't been as great as they thought maybe.
When they say easier to sell homes, I think they've just figured out new ways to market that excites buyers. That's it.
So, right. And so, go ahead.
I was going to say, I just had a closing and they bought down their rate. They didn't spend, I think they spent $10,000 or so to buy down their rate, but then the builder brought their rate down, and the lender bought their rate down. And so when they walked out of there, it was like a 3.6 or something crazy. I'm like, whoa, right now, 3.6, new construction, beautiful, beautiful home. So it's just being creative with the financing strategy. It worked out real well.
Right. And so this is where the builders are finding success, right? Because the builders partner with lenders, right? You're still paying a lot in fees for the, well, I recommend that if you are going to go to a builder, you always get a second opinion when it comes to, and every good realtor that you're working with, if they are good, should tell you to get a second opinion with another lender, because then they can actually show you where the fees are high or low or, you know, just right. You could do the 3 little bears with it, right? But to your point, this is where builders are finding confidence, because if I'm a home buyer, and I made this point a while ago, but if I'm a home buyer and I'm looking at a property at 500,000 at 7% interest rate, and I go into a builder and that property is 525, 550, but they're giving me a 4.9 interest rate instead of the 7% where we'll look at rates as you talk, I'll pull up rates. Well, of course, I'm going to go buy the new home and I'm going to go buy and get the better rate. On the flip side, if you are a buyer buying in a new construction neighborhood, Ian, what's the one thing I always say to be careful about?
Property taxes?
Property tax rates. Yeah. So if you are one of those people that's going, okay, I'm going to go into a builder and I'll go with the builder. I've seen this a lot recently, man. And it really bothers me. 2 builders in particular do this a lot. They advertise 1.9% interest rate. It's amazing. Or tax rate. Tax rate's 1.9%. You sign all the documents. Hey, by the way, there's a PID, but it's okay. Don't worry about the PID. There's a PID.
Don't worry about it.
But it's 1.9 tax rate. The PID is 15 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand. It's like a Melrose. So you actually still have utility taxes.
Best bait and switch, man. Best bait and switch.
Right. So you're still paying $300 more a month than you would have thought you were, because you're paying off the PID, which is 15 grand. Well, 20 grand or whatever.
The problem is people are going in with, forget the realtor thing, but they're going in and they don't know what they're doing. They think they know what they're doing, and then they get hooked because they see this beautiful house. Nobody's there to tell them otherwise because the builder wants to sell that house. And you're caught. Right. You're caught with this crazy property tax. Oh, sorry. It's not a property tax. It might be a PID.
A PID, right. It's still a tax. It's still a utility district tax or payment. So, all right. So that's something to be careful of if you are. I mean, I highly recommend you work with an agent. But the other thing is, those people that are going into new builds and doing that 550 because they're getting, What if they're looking at a neighborhood that doesn't have new construction, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think those people get jaded because we've been talking about 7% interest rates. We've been talking about how high the interest rates are. I think it's good to work with a lender and get the numbers for buy downs. Because if you're looking at homes that are on the market more than a couple weeks, I'd be asking for 10, 15 grand to do my buy down to get me a 4.9, maybe get you a 2-1 buy down. Because what's the thing everybody's talking about still is that interest rates are coming down. And I have an article here. I'm going to do a full video for next week, breaking down like this whole interest rate thing. Our interest rate is going to be falling. So if you're doing a 2-1 buy down and you have, you know, a lower rate for 2 years, and I don't like the saying, marry the home, date the rate, but this is one of those scenarios where that might be beneficial. You really need to do the numbers and make sure for yourself that doing a 2-1 buy down. So buy down would be like you get a 4.9% interest rate for 2 years and it goes to 7%. Or whatever the current market rate is for the interest rates, right? So if interest rates go up, then it, you know, and that's where people got in trouble is they did, you know, those loans where it was, I forget the term of it, but it was like a 5-1. And then it goes to like, you know, you had like 3.2% and now you're at 7% interest rate. Right. Yeah. And so it's the same thing as getting that tax bill after their first year for new construction. So, so builders are still building. The challenge is I don't see affordable, like looking at the market. I don't see a lot of new construction close in under 500. What are your thoughts?
No, agreed. 100%. I think it's hard to find what you would call affordable considering the median income, I think is how we say it. Like, what's the income of the area for a single person? If you have a dual income, that doesn't really count, right? But for a single person, would it be affordable for them to purchase this home? There are a lot of ways to get them into the house, but with their payments will probably be high, right? If everybody's paying everything for you to get into the house, it's not going to be good.
Right. And so the question then becomes, if you are looking at new construction or you're considering buying the last half of the year, which you guys see in my Tuesday video next week, we're going to talk about prices. Should you still buy new construction or buy resale?
Dude, I've got a client, I've got a walkthrough tomorrow morning, and I'm like, you can buy this, you know, the one that starts with an L that has an attached ADU, and you can live in the ADU, rent out the rest. Also, we talked about PID earlier, but we didn't mention that there's a high probability that the PID decreases over time. It just takes a long time.
Right. Well, so because the PID does decrease because you're paying it off every month, right? So if the PID's a $15,000 PID, they have it for X amount of years at $300. So like one of the neighborhoods I looked at here in Dripping Springs is like a 1.89 tax rate. I'm like, oh, it's amazing. They're like, oh, but there's a $300 a month PID. I'm like, well, how long is the PID for? 5 years. And I did the math. I'm like, it was like $17,000 PID or whatever it ended up working out to. I'm like, so they're still got to pay $17,000 back to the developer for developing the land. Am I right?
Right. Yeah.
Thanks for watching this short of the Real Amigos podcast. For more live streams, hit here. For more clips, hit here. We'll catch you on the next one.